So let's speak plainly about what happened in 2020. Even before the first ballot was cast, the former president was preemptively sowing doubt about the election results. He built his lie over months. It wasn't based on any facts. He was just looking for an excuse, a pretext, to cover for the truth. He's not just a former president. He's a defeated former president. Defeated by a margin of over 7 million of your votes in a full and free and fair election.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Thursday, January 6th, 2022. Welcome to day 352. Joe Biden condemned Trump and his allies for holding a dagger to the throat of America, denouncing the former president for promoting a web of lies and going to extraordinary lengths to cling to power because he, quote, can't accept he lost, end quote, in a free and fair election. Speaking from Statuary Hall in the U.S. Capitol on the anniversary of that January 6th attack, Biden said, quote, for the first time in our history, a president not just lost the election, he tried to prevent a peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob breached the Capitol, end quote. Biden charged Trump with waging an undemocratic and un-American campaign to preemptively sow doubt about the election results, adding that Trump bears singular responsibility for the attack. Quote, you can't love your country only when you win, Biden said. You can't obey the law only when it's convenient. You can't be patriotic when you embrace and enable lies, end quote. Meanwhile, Republicans accused Democrats of exploiting the deadly January 6th attack for political purposes instead of conducting basic oversight of Capitol security. Top Republicans, however, were nowhere to be found at the Capitol as Biden and members of Congress commemorated the deadliest attack on the building in centuries. In a statement, Mitch McConnell called January 6th a dark day for Congress and our country, before going on to accuse Democrats of trying to exploit this anniversary to advance voting rights protections that Republicans have repeatedly blocked. Federal judges in D.C., meanwhile, have imposed lighter sentences than prosecutors have sought in 49 out of 74 sentencings held for Capitol riot defendants so far. Of the 701 federal defendants, 174 have pleaded guilty to storming the Capitol on January 6th, and 74 have been sentenced, but nearly all for misdemeanors. Of the 74 people who have been sentenced, fewer than half have received prison time for their actions. Moving on, the number of children in U.S. hospitals with COVID-19 more than doubled to over 4,000 in less than 2 weeks. An average of 766 children were admitted to U.S. hospitals every day with COVID-19 over the last 7 days. Over the previous 7 days, 383 were hospitalized on average. The CDC, meanwhile, recommends that children ages 12 to 17 get a Pfizer coronavirus vaccine booster as the Omicron variant infections disrupt schools and workplaces. So far, about 35% of Americans overall have received a coronavirus booster shot, and about 62% of Americans, making up roughly 206 million people, are fully vaccinated. The U.S. is averaging 1.08 million shots in arms per day, but is reporting an average of 585,000 cases per day. Hospitalizations are also up 53% in the past 2 weeks, while deaths are down by 3%. Meanwhile, the U.S. Postal Service asked for a temporary waiver from Biden's coronavirus vaccine mandate, saying the vaccine or test mandate is likely to result in the loss of many employees, either by employees leaving or being disciplined. The mandate is set to take effect on January 10th, but OSHA officials have said the agency would not issue citations for violations until February 9th. The Postal Service asked OSHA to extend the deadline by 120 days and to suspend the Postal Service's compliance obligations until the Supreme Court can rule on the legality of the vaccine requirement. And finally, a group of Biden's former health advisors called on the administration to develop a new national COVID-19 strategy centered on the new normal of living with the coronavirus indefinitely. In a series of articles in the Journal of the American Medical Association, 6 of the former health advisors who counseled Biden during the presidential transition called for universal access to low-cost testing, as well as vaccine mandates to be imposed more broadly, development of next-generation COVID-19 vaccines, a universal coronavirus vaccine that would combat all known coronaviruses, as well as upgrades to public health infrastructure and to make N95 masks free and readily available to everyone. The authors suggested that the administration needs to accept that COVID-19 is here to stay and to set specific benchmarks that should trigger emergency measures in order to avoid becoming stuck in a perpetual state of emergency. When asked about the recommendations, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Biden's, quote, ultimate goal continues to be to defeat the virus, end quote. And in the polls, ABC News says just 20% of Americans say they're very confident in the integrity of the election system, while 39% say they're somewhat confident and 41% say they are somewhat or not confident at all in the system. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.